Hello everyone! Wherever you are, how are you? I'm back with you again, Takashi. A film titled The Jardinier, released in 2025, will tell the story of a presidential advisor who is suddenly hunted by mercenaries. I don't know what mistake I made, whether it was because the diploma was fake or something else. Just plug in the handset and lie down. Tighten your underwear. Enjoy watching. Set in Paris, France, the story begins with a presidential aide being ordered to deliver important documents to a mercenary group, where the document contains a list of names of criminals who must be executed within the next 2 days. However, while on the way, the aide who was speeding up his motorbike accidentally hit a car that suddenly appeared. And suddenly, the story will focus on a presidential advisor named Serge, who is currently on vacation at a beach due to work demands that cannot be anticipated. Serge is forced to have a Zoom meeting with a senator and is interrupted by his wife and child inviting him to play at the beach.
Your spells work?
No, not at all.
You're working?
No.
The
not
Seer
really.
spells are working.
No, this was actually planned.
You've got
for.
your YouTuber set up.
Believe me.
Instead of spending time with his family, Serge had to complete his work without helping his wife, who was busy taking care of the baby because of their first child, Alice.
After that, I'll join you in the bathroom. Get in the bathroom.
The baby just this
I
once.
see. So you.
Yeah? Right
about
now you
time
could
you
take
left. Thank you.
Charlotte.
Thank
You could
you.
give her milk
Yes.
just this once. Yeah,
Thanks
do
for
your
dropping
job
by.
for once.
Okay, great.
Shortly after, Serge received a phone call from a doctor and good friend who informed him that the documents on the presidential aide who had been involved in the accident contained a list of names.
Okay.
Surprise, surprise. Your good name was right there. 5th position.
This suddenly surprised Serge, and he immediately asked the doctor to send him a photo. After looking around, Serge became even more confused because he didn't recognize the other 4 names at all and wondered why my name was on the list. Doctor.
Ah, ben ça c'est Bercy, on craint.
Monsieur le ministre, hein?
On raccroche tous les deux à 3.
The doctor, who was completely unaware of the document's confidentiality, was immediately approached by 3 mercenaries led by a military commander named Mason. Those who learned that the adjutant had an accident and was being treated by the doctor immediately asked for his name and killed the doctor, pretending to have died of a heart attack.
Go there.
After finishing with the doctor, Mason immediately checked his phone and found Serge's name on the list. This meant Serge would be the next target.
Massive coronary. He just got prioritized.
It didn't take long for Mason to track down and locate Serge, so he quickly assigned 2 of his best teams to the location in question. Mason happened to find the location of the target at the top of the list, so they decided to stop by for a while and finish him off in a very cruel way.
Allez, soyez gentil, patron, allez. Ça pourrait nous servir, en plus j'ai envie de faire du mal à quelqu'un, patron, s'il vous plaît, patron.
Okay.
Back to Serge, who was soaking in the pool while listening to his favorite music. He was suddenly shocked by the news that reported that one of the country's top officials had just been murdered, who turned out to be one of the names on the list, because
Je sens que le week-end s'annonce de toute beauté. Pauvre vieux.
at the same time, when Alice, Serge's first child, is practicing her vocals in the yard, we will be introduced to a middle-aged man named Leo. With a body covered in scars and a tattoo of a bird on his chest, it turns out he is a gardener who has been working here for a long time, even before Serge bought the house.
Wow! J'ai entendu dire par mon père que si vous arrivez à vous débarrasser de toutes les mauvaises herbes.
Bonne journée, Mademoiselle Alice.
Not long after, a group of mercenaries from Mason arrived, trampling over his beloved garden, which would cause a household assistant to scold him. And guess what they will do?
Propriété privée ici, dégagez! Non mais qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Vous êtes... C'est la meilleure!
The mercenary then shot the housekeeper with a tranquilizer bullet and went inside while Alice was there. And, yeah.
C'était quoi ce... Alice, ça va?
Hearing his daughter's screams, Serge, foaming at the mouth, immediately went outside and found several armed strangers occupying his house. Serge quickly told his wife to call the police. However, due to poor network connectivity, they couldn't get help, leaving them with no other option. Serge decided to fight back, and since the only things available were a body brush and a razor, Serge took one of them as a weapon. And yeah, unsure of where to hide, the wife instead chose to enter the wardrobe, just as several troops were already there. When one of the criminals returned to check the wardrobe, the wife managed to take out one of the criminals quite easily. However, because she was too distracted, another criminal arrived and shot her with a tranquilizer bullet. The same thing happened to Serge, who was... Someone had pulled Serge into the warehouse. The criminals, realizing what was happening, rushed to investigate. Guess what happened next? And yeah, it was Leo the gardener who finished off these criminals in a very brutal manner. Serge himself appeared to have just regained consciousness and was still weak due to the anesthetic. Leo immediately injected him with adrenaline to speed up his recovery, which only made him panic when he realized his family was still inside.
C'est des cambrioleurs. On est en train de se faire omjaquer, mon petit. On est en train de se faire omjaquer.
Who exactly is this Leo? He also asked Serge to remain calm, as his wife and child are still alive. He was only unconscious from the tranquilizer bullet. After a few moments, Serge finally became aware of his surroundings, which were unfamiliar. It turned out to be an underground cave that had previously been...
On va les laisser trouver ma collection Alex, les 10 000 euros en liquide, je les cache dans le tiroir à chaussettes et hop, on va les laisser dégager.
Thinking that these people were just ordinary robbers targeting his family's valuables, Serge was very wrong. Judging by their uniforms and fighting style, it was clear that they were. So Leo started to wonder what had really happened to you. Serge!
Le corps d'un motard de la garde républicaine.
Quoi?
It was here that Sergi remembered the list of 5 names consisting of high-ranking government officials, including his own. In fact, the list Serge found was a copy of the executive blacklist that he and the president created annually for the benefit of the nation. However, this year, the president did not involve Serge in creating his blacklist. So Sergi finally realized that the president had blacklisted him. But the question now is, why did the president want to execute him?
Elles vivent, elles meurent, elles ne pleurnichent pas.
Mais je ne pleurniche pas, Léo. Je me soucie juste de mon sort et de celui de ma famille, pardon.
After learning why the soldiers were hunting him, Serge begged Leo to help him. Leo immediately prepared the weapons he had to carry. Serge himself remained with.
Comme ça, là? On prend même pas les armes? On y va juste avec 2 ans de vous prendre pour John Rambo. Mais est-ce que vous êtes peut-être un as pour tailler des routes?
Moving on, Mason just arrived at Serge's residence and found all his men dead, including those in the back shed who were also dead, covered in dirt. To warn Mason and his 2 aides.
Au japonais? Et un japonais, c'est ça, mon grand?
Attention au chat!
Au jaguar?
While Mason was still in the shed, Serge tried to sneak into the house to secure confidential data on his personal computer. When one of the soldiers threw away his cigarette butt and trampled on his bouquet of flowers, Leo, who had cared for the flowers with all his heart, was immediately angered. And this is what will happen.
Ah, ça dit blanc.
Before entering, Leo diverted his attention, everyone by starting the boat, the bot, and let it walk to the middle, sea. After outwitting the guards outside, Serge asked Leo to stand guard at the door, in case any enemies arrived, while he went inside to secure the secret files.
De la liste Matignon.
Without a cell phone or flash drive to transfer his files, Sergi transferred all his files to the baby's iPod. He arrived at the room to retrieve the iPod and rescue his baby. Serge instead found the baby playing Spotify in the ventilation hole, where bad luck struck again when Serge and the baby fell, making a loud noise, which led to them both being caught.
Laissez-moi, j'ai un bébé.
Having just escaped the chase, Leo took Serge and the baby into a cave for shelter. Given that Alice and his wife were still unconscious inside, Serge would leave the baby there and return home to rescue them both.
Mais non, vraiment.
Ah non.
Vous allez attraper froid, monsieur Serge.
Je suis désolé, mais ça n'est pas possible.
C'est beaucoup trop grand. Regardez, hein?
Mason himself had just received a report that the boat that had been sailing was only a diversion. Realizing he had been lied to from the start, Mason immediately ordered his aide, who we'll call Samsel, to immediately search for Serge, who was believed to still be at large. Because he couldn't find Serge despite searching the entire house, Samsel hurried to report it to Mason. Seeing his wife and Alice, who had just regained consciousness, Mason urged them to speak about the stranger who had helped Serge hide. But because the wife only knew there were them and Leo the gardener, Mason began to suspect that Leo the gardener was the one who had killed his men.
Nia, celle que tu mens.
Vous avez dit dans cette maison?
T'as une tête de menteuse.
Le jardinier dans le jardin?
Curious about Leo's figure, Mason assigned Samsel to find out about Leo's background and what his previous job was. It's not without reason, given the fact that Leo has finished off his entire troupe, who were actually trained agents. Mason suspects that Leo might be a trained agent just like him.
Il a des yeux de braise.
C'est qui ce type?
Je lui ai dit à ton père qu'il était bizarre.
Soon after, one of Mason's men reported that he had found a secret door in the basement. So Mason immediately ordered this bald man named Modo to lead some troops inside.
Juste, Schuster.
Switching to Serge, who is now back in the cave where he's hiding. They suddenly heard the warning alarm that Leo intentionally set up to know if there were any strangers approaching.
Il y a de voir l'action.
Yeah. Thanks to the trap that Leo had set, the troops died, leaving only Modo alone. Soon he heard the sound of a baby crying from underground, just as he was approaching the source of the sound. Suddenly,
Putain, t'es mort.
due to Serge's carelessness, Leo ended up getting shot with a tranquilizer dart, which weakened his body. Despite this, Leo was still able to defeat Modo, so Serge quickly injected adrenaline to help Leo recover quickly. After successfully escaping from their hiding place and fleeing into the forest near the house, Serge and Leo decided to rest. It was here that Leo finally told about his past as a former soldier who ended up becoming a gardener. In the past, Leo's father was a heavy gambler and always abused his mother. Until one night, The father, in a moment of madness, unintentionally abused the mother to death. As a result of that incident, Leo became a quiet figure who liked flowers, plants, and nature. So Leo chose to live in Serge's yard, because there he felt comfortable and no longer lonely.
Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
At the same time, Modo looked like he had just regained consciousness and had apparently survived. Several direct hits landed by Leo. He quickly reported the incident to Mason, just as the president informed them that they only had 1 hour left to eliminate Serge.
On a fini jardiner.
Disappointed with all the failures of his men, an annoyed Mason decided to use real bullets in the weapons they were using, and then shoot in all directions to lure Leo and Serge out of their hiding place.
Soyez plus discret. J'ai un petit bébé qui a un problème de sommeil.
Soon after, Mason accidentally heard Leo's voice from the radio he was using. Mason immediately took advantage of this to intimidate Serge by torturing his wife and Serge's daughter, Alice. Even if Leo and Serge didn't come out immediately, Mason wouldn't hesitate to kill them both.
C'est votre dossier, vous voulez, hein? Laisse-moi m'en occuper de ça, vous de merde!
Putain, mais t'es con quoi?
Excuse-moi, j'ai dérapé.
Apparently, Mason wasn't joking about his threat. He directly killed the housekeeper aunt with a real bullet so that Serge would be aware of the current situation. Mason's action was enough to disappoint his men because the initial intention was only to target Serge, but the person who...
Que le Tout-Puissant me pardonne. Job is done.
Not willing to let his child and wife become victims, Serge urges Leo to save them right away. He was initially forbidden because Leo wanted to make a strategy first. Serge, who was impatient, recklessly took 2 adrenaline injections. And what happened? Like Denzel Washington in the movie The Equalizer, Serge was instantly able to hypothesize predictions by considering all the possibilities using office supplies as weapons, and... Yeah, what we just saw turned out to be just a hallucination due to the side effects of adrenaline. But luckily, Serge woke up in time and accidentally found a firearm from behind the chair, so... Luckily, Serge was secured by Leo, who immediately pulled him into the bushes. Shortly after Serge fully recovered from his hallucinations, Leo made a deal with Mason for an exchange. Serge would be exchanged for his child and wife. If this exchange was successful, Leo promised not to interfere in Mason's affairs again.
Monsieur Serge, contre sa famille. Elle vous écoute.
Mais c'est moi.
Je vais faire ce qu'un père doit faire.
Non, mon amour, non.
Just as the exchange was about to take place, Mason received new information about Leo, who was a former Special Forces soldier, where Mason was increasingly surprised to learn that Leo was one of the soldiers, known for his brutality and had reportedly completed around 75 missions during his active duty.
Mais des soldats qui tuent les innocents.
La fête de mes frères. C'était les ordres. Et tu as fait ce qu'il y a de pire.
That wasn't the only surprise. Leo was also shocked when he found out that the figure leading this troop was Mason, his former commander when he was still active, in the unit back then, at the exact same time. Samsel secretly sneaked in to finish off Serge, but...
Oui, putain, connard! T'as un dernier mot à dire à ton public avant de partir?
Esmeralda? Non, merde.
After finishing off Samsel, they were immediately intercepted by Mason, who was already standing in front of the house. While Modo kept watch inside, Mason boldly challenged Leo to a one-on-one duel. Because you sell, I buy, and this is what happens. Unexpectedly, Mason apparently still had a backup pistol and immediately pointed it at Leo. Seeing his commander acting like a loser, Moto decided to intervene by shooting the pistol down, so...
Soldat, putain!
After everything was finished, Serge and his family thanked Leo and immediately excused themselves to leave this place. Shortly after they left, Leo was shocked again to find Mason's corpse had disappeared without a trace. Realizing that Mason was still alive and pursuing his target, Leo hurriedly sped off to stop him.
Papa, c'est pas ta voiture, ça?
And sure enough, Mason is currently pursuing Serge and his family. After a pretty wow chase, Leo appeared and also joined the chase until he managed to stop this madness.
T'aurais pas dû désobéir, Beaume.
Again, Leo is trapped in a desperate position as Mason points a gun at him. Seeing his friend in need of help, Serge immediately gets out of the car and intends to divert attention. And...
Dis donc, j'ai l'impression que ça manque d'un joueur dans votre partie. La vengeance. La mission, la vengeance. Voilà, tu m'as vu? Ça s'est pas passé l'eau.
luckily, Serge was wearing a bulletproof vest, which kept him alive. Meanwhile, an annoyed Mason began to approach Serge, intending to finish him off with his bare hands, unaware that Leo was secretly seizing this opportunity to eliminate him. And... A few days after everything happened, Sergei leaked the president's secrets and reported them to the authorities to be prosecuted, followed by news about the blacklist that had spread and gone viral. As for Leo, he began to rearrange the flower garden that Mason and his men had damaged and will continue his profession as a gardener. Finished. The message we can take from this film is don't hesitate to offer help to others just because you're afraid they won't reciprocate. Because in essence, when we help others, we are actually helping ourselves. I, Takashi, representing the board of directors in charge, would like to say thank you and see you in the next video. Adios.